absolute biggest thing is pricing. It's pricing and packaging. When I started, when I got out of the school business the first time, I started a thing called the 100 Club, which was kind of even before NAPMA or Maya, and I had 100 people paying me $79. And I was doing seminars all over the place, and sometimes it'd be 100 people, and sometimes it'd be 2 people. So I'm running around the country, I'm selling books, I'm selling manuals, I'm selling tapes. I started a magazine. I actually had a martial arts business magazine, not before anybody, because there was that guy in Colorado. Remember the guy, Richard Black or something out of Colorado?
I don't remember.
Yeah, there was actually a martial arts business magazine before mine, but I had the first one that stuck around.
And the first issue you mailed was me on the cover.
I think the first issue was me on the cover. Maybe the second issue was you on the cover. No, the first issue was me on the cover. So that was me standing in front of Doc McGee's house with a Ferrari.
Yes.
Yeah, that wasn't my house or my Ferrari, but
We'd be doing a flying sight.
there you go. Yeah. We did, yeah. And a big interview too.
Yes.
Yeah. So we've always thought out of the box, contrary to the industry. But anyway, so I've got this thing going where I'm making 40 grand a month with my books, my magazines, my tapes, doing the seminars, and I'm losing 10. And I'm losing 10, and I'm losing 10, and I'm losing 10. And I've already taken all the money out of my house. There's no equity in my house. I've still got a big house. I still drive a Porsche. I'm telling everybody how to be successful. I've been successful. You ever see that ad with the guy in the tractor where he's driving it and he's going, I've got a big house. My kids are in private school, but I'm drowning in debt. Did you ever see that one? Funny. Every time I see that, I laugh at it because that was me. So I got $127,000 on my credit cards. And I'm not behind, but I'm real close to going under. And I actually met Jay Abraham. A friend of mine got me an interview with Jay Abraham. And I go up to his house and meet him at his house. We go out to this little restaurant for breakfast. And Jay, who I'm sure some of you know, is pretty aggressive. And he's one of those guys where...
No people skills.
Well, not only that, but he not only is he aggressive, but he can't talk to you from here. He has to talk to you from here. And he's one of those guys, I even met those guys that when they talk, they got to poke you. So it's like, how many people you got in your database? And like, every time he talks to you, he either pokes you, or punches you, or hits you. So he's like, how many people you got on your database? Which for 3 hours, this goes on. Now, by that time, I'd read all the books, I'd been to all the seminars, I'd done everything. After 3 hours, he asked me one question, and he gets up, and he goes, you're so effing smart, figure it out yourself, and he walks out the restaurant.
That's Jay.
Then he came back in, and he goes, look, let's start again. How much money are you making? I go, 40 grand. How much do you want to make? I go, 60. If I made 60, I'd be making a profit of 20 grand instead of losing 10. Double your prices. No, triple them. So we're driving back. Brilliant advice, right? Triple my prices. I'm struggling, I've got under. But that's exactly what we did. We came out with the Masters Club at $250 a box. And within 90 days, I went from making 40 grand, grossing 40 and losing 10, to grossing 120 and keeping 60. Simply by changing, everything else was so close, but by changing the pricing and packaging a little bit, it made it was unbelievable. You tell people, even now it sounds unbelievable, but it's true.
What do you think about packaging?
Well, we just like the 100 Club had, an ad slick in the box and a video in the box, and we just said, what else could we put in the box to make it more valuable?
Justify raising the price.
Right, to justify
What you gave them when they paid you? It was like a...
Keep in mind what the lesson is. The lesson is triple the price, everything worked.
The box is just like NAPMA. Like what you get in a NAPMA box, it was the forerunner to that, is what it was.
Yeah.
But I did the same thing in my school.
Kind of like the old NAPMA box.
The same thing in my school. When school got to 250 students, we were out of space. And the space next door came up. And the landlord called me, the pizza place went under. He goes, do you want the space? I'm like, yeah. I go home that night and I'm thinking, wait a minute. I'm paying $3 grand a month now. If I take the space next door, it'll be $6 grand a month. I'll need another instructor, which will be whatever it was back then, let's say $2 grand a month. And I didn't do it. I called him up, I don't want to do it. I went back, I raised my price. I raised my prices of lessons 50%. And the only thing that changed was I went from 250 students through attrition down to about 200. But the people coming through the door signed up just as easily and paid 50% more. So I increased my net income by almost 50% by simply raising my prices when everybody else was discounted. So pricing and packaging.
And I learned that lesson. Hold that, I learned that lesson years ago. It was in the year of Karate Kid 1. We had a school that was 2,500 square feet with 550 active. And it was the same thing. It was, well, you know, my background was in economics, and they always talk about price elasticity. And I was saying to myself, well, if we raise the prices 20%, maybe the volume will drop 20%, will be level. Well, what happened with me was every time we raised the prices, we got more students. So we would raise the prices, we get more people. We raise the prices, we get more people. And that's really where I learned the lesson that, you know, price determines perception of value in many cases. So absent other criteria, and a prospective martial arts student doesn't have any other criteria. And 99% of the time, they haven't gone and shopped the market. If they do, the industry, unfortunately, is relatively pathetic. So most schools they walk into, they're not going to be very impressed with anyway. So if you're doing a halfway decent job, the question isn't, do they want to do you or them at this price or this price? It's usually they want to do your program, and then they'll pay what you're asking if they can afford it.
You go to the premise that I heard it one time, if somebody, at least 50% of the people that walk in don't object to your prices are too low, or is it something like that? Is that accurate, or how do you know when you've hit the ceiling or for your market?
You know, I always thought about pricing it, and it's just amazing how many similarities there are in the golf business as with the karate business. You go to somebody and say, why do you charge what you charge? What do you charge for a month of group lessons?
160.
160. Why do you charge 160?
I think that was, actually it was raised from what we were charging before, because somebody said raise your prices, we raised our prices to
Why is it 160 not 99 or 160 not 260? Why'd you come up with 160?
Modeled somebody else. That's really simple as you can make it. I don't have a better reason for that. There's no formula involved with it.
Right, and there almost never is. When you ask somebody why they charge what they charge, usually you hear that's what the market will bear. Then you ask them, well, have you ever tested what the market will bear? Well, no, but that's what everybody charges. I mean, my whole thing would be, I always base what I charge based on what I wanted to make and how hard I wanted to work. So in the golf business, I charge 10 grand a day plus expenses for consulting. Now, because I charge 10 grand a day, I only do one a month. If I charge 5 grand a day, maybe I'd do 2 grand a month, but then you got to fly there, you got to fly back. It's really 3 days when you go anywhere if it's out of state. It's like, but I mean, my price for that is just based on the fact that I like doing one a month, where I get on a plane, fly somewhere, and if, you know, last year I charged 8, I put it up to 10, and it doesn't matter, I still do one a month. It's like, but it's based on what I want to make, not what I think the market will bear, and how hard I want to work. So I think you've got to price it based on kind of some type of bell curve that says, you know, if people pay me this, I'll have to work this hard or do this much. If people pay me this, and that's how I would price, is not so much based on what the market will bear, more how do I get it so that I work X amount of hours to make whatever it is, 100 grand a year, 200 grand a year, and how will I achieve that the easiest? Because there's two ways, you know, can I get 500 people to pay me $50, or is it easier to get 250 people to pay me $100? Or is it easier still to get 125 people to pay me $200? All of which equates to the same amount of money.
Or 100 to pay 1,000. And something else you said is a different track of what Andrew was saying. See, there's sales jargon, right? There's a condition and there's an objection, right? And when it comes to pricing, you can't fix broke. So there's a point at which many of us go fish in the wrong pond. And if you have a choice of presenting your product to people who have money and presenting your product to people who don't have money, well, pick the ones that have money, right? And then once you pick the ones that have money, it's a matter of value now. It's not a matter of can they do it or can they not do it, right? A condition is I can't fix broke. The value proposition is something different. Now, you said if you don't have 50% of the people objecting about price, well, all human beings 100% object to price. I would prefer to pay free. We went over to La Jolla yesterday. We went to the Bentley Ferrari dealership. They have the nice little gray Ferrari like your red one. This was convertible, not a hardtop. They want $167 for it. Well, if I was in the market to buy a Ferrari in San Diego, I'd rather pay $50 for it. I'd rather pay nothing for it. I'd rather pay $110 for it. I'd rather pay $140 for it. Any price lower than what they're asking would be my preference, right? And so don't confuse the fact that people say, oh, that's a lot of money, or that's a lot of money for karate lessons, or can I pay less, to be they won't pay it. It's just human reflex nature is negotiate price. So I never worry about what it is they're objecting to unless my ratios go down. And as you raise your price, your ratios always go down immediately because you don't believe it, right? Or whoever's presenting it doesn't believe it. And if you don't believe it, they're sure not going to believe it because subliminally, if nothing else, you're going to convey to them, this is too much money, you shouldn't pay it. So keep in mind, condition, you can't fix broke. So go market to people who have money, don't market to people who don't have money. It's what we were talking about yesterday in the economic conditions. My target market is just fine. My target market is college educated, 35 and up, mostly professionals, mostly postgraduate education is what I want to target who have kids. Well, unemployment rate in that market is like 4.2% right now. They're fine.
Yeah, I think the other thing too, and I hear this a lot in the golf business. Everybody, hey, there's no question that people are hurting. There's no question if you're in the real estate business, the mortgage business, or the construction business, you got problems. And let's not pretend that's not true. But 60% of the country works for the government. They're not laying people off. They really aren't. You know, I mean, they work for either the federal government or the state government. They're not letting firemen go. They're not letting cops go. They're not letting teachers go. They're all still in a job, for the most part.
Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, they're So, you know, a lot of it is just weird perspectives about price, right? And your objective is not to get everybody. Your objective is to get all the ones that you want to have that have the capability of paying for it. And we were having this conversation within our own organization just this week, is I had, in fact, you were one of them, Sasha, and the other one was the Sleece brothers we talked about earlier. They had an enrollment ratio, and again, if you don't know your numbers, you know what's going on, but let's say it was 20 second intros, 16 enrolled, the 4 that didn't enroll, it was price of objections, right? Well, it turned out that it was, if the price was $50 a month, they wouldn't be able to afford it. So no amount of adjusting the price and any of that stuff is going to fix. 4 out of 20 were just broke. Can't fix that, right? And if you're getting a lot of people who are just broke, well, that's a marketing problem. You gotta go fix the marketing problem. And sometimes it's you're located in a 10-mile radius of a whole bunch of broke people. Well, that was a marketing problem too. Shouldn't have located in a 10-mile radius of a whole bunch of broke people. So you've got to look at it, is it a marketing problem or is it just a belief system and a value?
Yeah, I mean, just to you know, I always used to joke with people that for $99, Greyhound can take anywhere you want to go. But there are, you know, there are parts of the city that go bad. Sometimes sometimes the fix is to relocate. I mean, not that that's necessarily your problem, but just
right.
We got on that track. Sometimes, you know, you just might be in the wrong area, and relocating may be the best thing you can possibly do for your business. So, you know, I think a lot of people fight that because they've been there 10 years or they know everybody in that
They're
town.
established in the market.
Right. Before I forget, if you go to my blog, I need some new testimonials since mine are all 10 years old. So if you go to the blog, say something good about the seminar.
There you go. Absolutely. Absolutely.